I asked our next presenter, oh, by the way, another challenge coming up, so get your notebooks, get ready. And I promised an arts challenge, which is what this will be. I asked Laura, what's something interesting that I could tell about you that's not your biography and not a bunch of credentials? And she said, last time I gave a talk like this, I tripped and fell on my face. I will consider it a huge success if I get through it without stumbling. She's great and brilliant and going to really tell you an amazing story and give you a challenge. Please join me in welcoming Laura Zabel. Would you like a hand up?
Good. It's good. What I learned from that experience of falling down in front of an enormous theater full of people is that for yourself, once you set that bar really low, then everything can feel like a success. So, although I haven't made it all the way through yet, so we'll see. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and just really appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to all of you and learn a little bit about who you are and what you want to do to make your community better. I'm really lucky. I get to run an organization called Springboard for the Arts that's based in Minnesota. And before we get started, I want to tell you two things. I'm going to say the word art a lot, and I'm going to say the word artist a lot, and I think it's important for us to just have a common definition or for you to understand what I mean when I say those things. When I say art, maybe think about painting or drawing, or maybe think about dance or writing or music, and I do mean those things. But I also mean spoken word and street art and popular music. I mean people who sing in choirs. I mean people who draw with chalk on the sidewalk. So a big definition. And similarly, when I say artist, I mean all of us, all of you. We all have creative capacity. We all have the ability to use our creative skills to make our community better. And I really believe that's what makes somebody an artist. Our work at Springboard is about two different things. It's about making sure that there are more people in this world who call themselves artists and who have the ability to practice their creative skills and their creative work. So we do a lot of things that are about supporting artists, helping artists develop business skills, helping them make money from their work, helping connect them with healthcare and other things that they need. And then our work is really fundamentally about helping communities better tap into, have better access to their artists. Because we really believe that at a very fundamental level, our communities need creativity. Any challenge that you look at, any problem in your community could use a creative thinker, right? The way we've been addressing a lot of challenges in our communities, frankly, is not working out very well. We've heard that from a lot of the speakers. So we need to tap into those creative skills. We need to think differently. We need to see challenges as opportunities. We need to see the beauty in the chaos. And we need those practical skills that artists can bring to the table. Skills like attracting people and attention and dollars to issues. We do our work in Minnesota, but then we share our ideas nationally. So we let people take our programs and do them all over the country. And we really believe in that kind of radical sharing. So why? Why do we do this work? Well, partly it's driven by who we are. This is who I am, or at least who I was when I was 10. It's a super good haircut, right? That's me dressed up like a little boy for a play. I was a super shy kid, really painfully shy, and I really had a lot of trouble making friends and connecting with people. I didn't feel like I had those connections in my community. I didn't know how to express myself or how to connect with other people. But then I found theater, and I found dance, and that became a way for me to connect with other people. It became a way for me to build social connections with other people, to make friends, to understand who I was, and to be able to communicate that back to the world. And now I feel like that art in my life has given me everything. It's how I met my husband. It's how I spend my day, every day, working. And it's the work that I believe in the community. So just at a very personal level, that's why I believe this work is important. We also do this work because we believe in collaboration and cooperation. So I mentioned that I'm from Minnesota. This is a group of people pushing their city bus out of a snowbank. When you live in a place like Minnesota, you have to cooperate with each other, or someone might freeze to death on the sidewalk. So we believe in those things like collaboration and cooperation. And we believe in doing things. I really believe that each of us in this room has the capacity, has the agency to just go out and do something that makes our neighborhood, our world, our community better. And a lot of that is about figuring out what you love. We talked yesterday afternoon about grit. And to me, love, grit, they're kind of interchangeable. How do you find that thing that lights you up, that you wake up every morning thinking about? And then how do you go out and do something? I'm here to tell you, I'm evidence that you don't need permission, you don't need an invitation, you don't even need a challenge to go out and make your community better. We all have that power to take action. And of course, we also do this work because of research. Because there's very real research that shows that when people are connected to each other through art and culture, that our neighborhoods are healthier, that a lot of the challenges we've talked about over the last 2 days get better. There's this great study that the Knight Foundation did called The Soul of the Community, and they went and talked to people in communities all over the country. And in every single community, it was the same thing. The reasons that people stay in a place, the reasons that people take care of the place where they live, the community they live, are because they feel like it looks nice, because they feel like they have fun things to do, social activities, and because they feel like there's a sense of openness and belonging. And so those are all 3 things that artists are really good at making happen, making things look better, giving people opportunities to come together, and helping people understand more about other people in their community and other connections. And that social connection, that's really at the root of all of our work. And there's this other great research by the Wilder Foundation that shows that when people feel socially connected, their health actually gets better, their physical health gets better. So all of our work is about that connection. And I'm sure you can imagine in your head ways that art and culture and creativity can help people connect in new ways. I'm sure you can imagine big public art pieces, like some of these, that connect people in new ways, that get people talking about things in new ways. But our work is much smaller. It's much more scrappy, it's much more DIY, and it's work that any one of you could do any day. It's work that sometimes looks like backyard puppet theaters or parades or a mural on a sidewalk at an important intersection in a neighborhood, or a pattern in the snow that invites people to walk and exchange ideas. I'm going to go through a whole bunch of projects that we've worked on with artists just to kind of give you an idea of the diversity and the breadth and the depth of what these little tiny things can do. So art projects can help you gather input from the community. If there's something that you want to know, if there's an issue facing your community that you need a bunch of people to react to or respond to, you can think of creative ways to get that response. Sometimes it's just as simple as a chalkboard that invites people to write an answer and get their photo taken. Art is also a really great way to get people to show up for things that they might not show up for otherwise. So this is a picture from an event in a neighborhood that needed to gather input from their neighbors about traffic calming. So that sounds thrilling, right? We all love talking about traffic calming. But instead, they decided to get that input by hosting big block parties that had creative activities, dance, things you could bring your kids to, food, cultural activities, so that it became an event that people wanted to attend. Art can give people something to talk about. So I guarantee you that if there is a giant puppet of a dog walking through your neighborhood, you're more inclined to talk to someone about that than you would be otherwise. Art can also give people a place to talk and a place to connect. This is a project called The Really Big Table. That is exactly what it sounds like, a really big table that invites people to sit down, have coffee, do a little drawing, and just chat with each other to learn something about the other people in their community. Art can also be a way of taking a place that we think of as having a different function and turning it into something else. So what if you sit outside at a bus stop and interview your neighbors or do creative projects with them? How does that change people's experience in their neighborhood or how they think and care for their neighborhood? Art can be a gift. This is a project that was a flamenco flash mob that happened in convenience stores and fire stations in a neighborhood that was facing a really big challenge, just to say, we see you and we value you and we're glad you're here. Art can be a way of looking at possibility and seeing things with new eyes. This is a project where there was a really important vacant building, and the community had a lot of sort of controversy about what to do with that building. And so these artists organized a performance and a video projection on the side of that building to show their neighbors what might be possible there. Art can also change our power dynamics really easily and really quickly in terms of how we relate to each other. This is a project by an artist named Diana Lane. And it was in a neighborhood that was dealing with a really important and painful piece of historic controversy, and a place where the neighbors were not feeling heard by their politicians, by the people who worked for the city. And Diane wrote a song and choreographed a very silly and fun dance. And she started teaching that dance to people at all kinds of community events. And so here in this picture, Diane is doing that dance with people who work for the city, with the children of the business owner where this parking lot is, with people who work for the transit system, with artists, and with other community leaders. And I guarantee you, after you wear a construction helmet and a glowing vest and do a silly dance with someone, you have a different relationship with them. You have a different ability to talk to them about the important issues in your community that need talked about. Art can also be a way of engaging people in other kinds of community issues or in other kinds of community needs. So if your community wants to focus on public health, you want to increase the number of people who are biking and walking because you know that that's a way to make your community healthier. Maybe you have a bike parade. You help people decorate bikes and do that together communally. These are all really simple. Art can be a way of reflecting a community, of showing a community, making them visible. Art can be a way of healing. So this is a project where the artist invited people to write words that they wanted to wash away on the sidewalk, and then they washed them away with water. So a very symbolic, simple act. And art can also be a way of having hard conversations or getting people talking in a way they wouldn't otherwise. So I'm sure you've all probably had this experience where somehow you're able to have an easier conversation with somebody when you're driving in the car, or maybe when you're washing dishes or working on something, because you don't have to look right in their eyes and you don't have to sort of address it head on. Art does that same thing. If we work on things together, if we use our hands together, we're able to have conversations that we wouldn't have otherwise. So this is a community collage project where people were busy cutting and pasting and doing all of those kinds of things that allow you to have conversations. And then it became this beautiful piece of work that traveled around to galleries and was able to be a community source of pride. Art can also really be about telling a community's story. I think if there's one thing that I leave you with today, it's that there's really nothing more important than telling our stories. This is an artist who sat at a farmer's market and collected people's recipes and then drew them and gave them back to the community so that people could see who was in their community, what were the hidden stories in their community. Art can also be about a shared experience, about participating in something that kind of breaks you out and makes you be a little silly, a little goofy. So this is 3 different generations of women in a community dressed up in silly hats. And art can be about our hopes and dreams. This is a project that collected a community's, a neighborhood's hopes and dreams. And then the artist took those hopes and dreams that people had dropped in this little suggestion box, and they printed them on little slips of paper, and they slipped them into all of the fortune cookies in the restaurants along that avenue. And so when you were eating at a restaurant, you would break open that cookie, and you would find a wish from somebody in your neighborhood. And then they projected them onto the side of the building so that everybody could see what were the wishes, the hopes and dreams for the neighborhood. One of these says, "I hope you have a nice boyfriend one day." Art can also really be about giving people ownership over space or claiming space in new ways. This is a project that just happened a couple weeks ago in a parking lot, a really temporary project that just all of a sudden in the middle of a Minnesota winter made this little space for people to make things, for people to use their hands, for people to engage with each other. And then we can share these ideas. So all of those ideas I just showed you, all of those projects, any one of you in this room could do any one of those projects anytime you wanted. They're not big, they're not expensive, they're very simple. And then we can share those ideas. And that's happened for us. So a few years ago, we started this project called Community-Supported Art. If any of you know the community-supported agriculture model, it's exactly like that. Community-supported agriculture connects farmers and community members. Community-supported art connects artists and community members. And we did this, and in our community, it was very successful. And then we shared that idea with people all over the country. And now there's 50 different community-supported art programs all over the United States and increasingly abroad, including one right here in Denver. And for me, that really reinforces that when we do these small things in our community, when we find the ways to connect to our neighbors, when we find ways of engaging people creatively, that those might be a little drop in the pond here, but they can have big ripple effects. They have ripple effects because people have different relationships with the people around them. They have ripple effects because maybe you share the idea and it travels, and all of a sudden there are people all over the country doing the thing that you started here. So that's my challenge to you. Use art to create new social connections in your community. Design a creative project that invites community members to engage with each other in new ways. And these are my 3 ingredients for how that can happen. It's really not hard. I know that all of you could do it today. But the 3 things that I think are important, the 3 things that I think make all of those projects that I showed you successful, are that they're reciprocal, which means they're win-win. Everybody's in it. It's fun for you, it's fun for the people who are participating. It's good for everybody involved. That they're authentic. You know best what this community needs. You know best what the challenges are in your community, in your school, and you know how to communicate those. So trust yourself to reflect what is really you, what is really true about your community. What do you wish your community knew about your school, about each other? And then that they're ordinary, they're simple. They don't have to take a lot of time or a huge budget or a big complicated setup, but they're just moments of surprise and joy and connection. So I guess what I'm really saying is love something, do something. I really, of course, hope that you pick my challenge. But I will also say that as I've listened to all of the other great speakers and all of the other great challenges, and just been so surprised and inspired by them, that I think that these things, these creative skills, you can apply them to any one of those things that you care about. So I hope that you take some of these ideas, and no matter what challenge you pick, that they're useful to you, and you can find ways to incorporate art and creativity and your own creative capacity in addressing your challenge. Thanks.
Questions for Ms. Zabel. And we would like to try to get nothing personal. Some people who haven't had a chance to ask questions. You always ask questions. Let's get a few new faces involved.
I have one over there.
Hello, I'm Suchi Verma from John F. Kennedy. My question is that I assume that you're an artist yourself. So what inspired you to help people with all these projects?
That's a great question. I am an artist. I'm a theater artist still, and a little bit of a writer. And actually, everybody who works at Springboard, where I work, we're all practicing artists. So we do this work for ourselves and for our community. I think what inspired me actually was that I had seen the impact on my own life. I knew that these were important experiences for people to have, and I understood how much it meant to me at a really personal level, and I wanted that for more people. And I also really saw that in the arts, in my field, in the arts, there was a really sort of dangerous pulling away, where art became only for a few people, or only for people who could afford to go to the opera or the ballet, both of which I love, but those aren't the only things, and I want art to be for everybody. And so those are really the things that inspire me.
Hello, my name's Rebecca West. I'm from the...
Go.
My name's Rebecca West. I'm from the Denver Center for International Studies, and I really liked how you said that art creates connections and belonging in communities. And I was wondering what you thought of the recent studies which show that art and the arts in schools increase test scores and student performance.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question, and I think those things are true. They do. You know, I have to, as wonderful as he was, I do have to disagree with your Lieutenant Governor just a little bit. Someone asked him a great question about arts education, and he said that arts education was important, that liberal arts education was important, but that you should make sure that you focus on the skills that will get you a job. And I'm sure he didn't mean to word it in that way, but I have a sensitive nerve in that regard, because I really strongly believe that these are the skills you need to get a job. You need to be creative, you need to be innovative. And art teaches you those things. It teaches you so much about collaboration and connection to other people, how to build things from nothing. I mean, those are the things that I learned from theater that inform my work and my life every day. So it is about test scores, but it's also really about your life skills. Yes.
My name is Jay Wan, and I go to Bruce Randolph. And my question was, what kind of art set your career path, and how did that affect the people around you?
You mean like how does my family care that I'm an artist? Is that what you're asking?
No, like what type of art? I guess like what type of art influenced you the most? Was it like
right.
writing or?
Yes. You know what? Probably the most influential art on me is it has been improv comedy. So you know, like Whose Line Is It Anyway, or Second City, or Saturday Night Live, like that kind of. That's some of my training is in improvisation, and there's some really basic principles to improvisation that I think are so useful to me and useful in everyday life. There's this principle in improv called yes and, which means that whatever somebody else proposes, you say yes to it, and then you add something. Yes and, that you never stop that conversation with a no, because if you can imagine a scene on stage with two people talking and one person comes in and they say, I'm an astronaut, and the other person says, no, you're not. Well, then there's nothing to do. There's no scene there. There's no place for you to go together. You have to say, yes, you're an astronaut, and I am ready to shoot this rocket to Mars. You heighten it, you add to it. And I feel like no matter what you do, whether you're an artist in your everyday life or whether you're an attorney, those are skills that we need. And so that field, improv, has been really influential to me in a lot of different ways.
My name's Siani, and I'm from North High School. And I wanted to know, so like your love for the arts and like a whole community, was it more self-determination, or did you have somebody that like inspired you to do this?
I've had a lot of really wonderful and important mentors in a lot of different ways. Some of them in the arts, so directors and people that I've worked with in theater, other actors, certainly my background in improv. But I've also had really good mentors that were outside of the arts. You know, my work is all about art, but I also run an organization. So it was really important to me when I came to this work. I didn't have any experience in how to do that. No background in what it means to run a business or an organization, especially a nonprofit. And so I needed a lot of help and a lot of mentors. And I think that that's something that I've learned to do over time, is ask for help. And it's another one of those skills that comes from theater, that kind of collaboration and understanding when you need somebody to help you. But yeah, there's no doing this alone.
Okay, thank you. Hi, my name is Shauna. I go to TJ. I do theater at my school too, and that's what I want to do in the future. But the thing is, at our school, we have a challenge selling tickets and trying to promote our play or musicals, because not everyone, but a lot of people now think that theater and all that is so outdated. And I wanted to know, what's a way to kind of pull people in and to suck them in? Like, it's not boring. You're going to be entertained. You're going to laugh. You know, your emotions are going to be out there, and I wanted to know what you would say to that.
So that challenge you have is the challenge of every theater company across America. So you're not alone in that. I think the answer is that it has to be relevant to people, that it's actually not super effective to tell people they're going to be interested in something, as I'm sure you all know. People want to see stories that reflect their experience or that mean something to them. So sometimes it's a matter of doing things ahead of time that help people understand the subject matter. Sometimes it's in the shows that you select and making sure that you're choosing work that really resonates for your community. You know, those things are really big challenges that a lot of very, very large theater companies and other arts organizations are trying to address. And some of them are doing a really great job, and where I see people doing a really great job, it's about making the work relevant to the community. Rather than asking them to come to you, figure out how you can go to them. Okay, one more.
My name is DeQuasia, and I go to Noah Community Art School. My question is, what advice would you give to any of us that would want to start something in our community that, a community that where we don't get together as much, just something very simple?
I'm a huge believer in starting small and then working from there, just like you talked about yesterday when you were making the wallets. Like, how do you do the quickest, fastest, simplest thing possible and then build on that? So maybe it's that you find 3 friends and you go and draw with chalk, draw a game board on the sidewalk and just see if people use it. Or maybe it's that you find 2 other people and you go out on the street and interview whoever walks by and then make a short play about it. But figure out how you can just go do something small, something that feels fun to you, and then see what comes of it and see how to build on top of that instead of trying to make sure that you know how everything's gonna go from the beginning. Awesome. Thank you.
Fantastic, that's great. Laura Zabel! Yeah, come on, let her hear you.